what do you have on the radar? What's hitting your screen today that you want to talk about?
We're kind of getting into something's got to give basically in retail world. It's we've been waiting around for gas prices to tank spending. That just hasn't happened. You can make a bunch of excuses for why that hasn't happened. It's about to happen. Everyone's got credit card debt. The sky is falling, whatever. But earnings we're kind of in the dregs of the earnings season. We've got CASY's coming up tonight, an absolutely undercovered, widely ignored story that's up, you know, quite a bit this year, 38 odd percent, up 255% over the last 3 years, just doing their business in Ankeny, Iowa, being an awesome general store, kicking ass, taking names. But it's the stocks are not responding that well to earnings, just overall. Victoria's Secret's accepted. And the earnings generally were pretty good. You're seeing nothing unusual. Choosy consumer in the sense that they're going to stores they like, ignoring stores they don't. But for the most part, spending's been strong. And it's easy to kind of I sort of hobnob in places. San Diego is not the ideal spot to look for weak consumers. It's a nice place to shop and people shop. I was in Las Vegas for the hockey game over the weekend. Also a nice place to shop and plenty of consumers there. But the national data is pretty good, and again, American sports came in this morning. They were solid. You're not seeing blowout numbers for the most part, but you're seeing good numbers, and the stocks are just kind of idling around. Some of that is consolidating, like in the case of Walmart, Costco, but a lot of it is just this persistent sort of skepticism that eventually the sky's going to fall based on largely just inflation in general, but in particular the gas prices. Gas prices off over 10%, which is meaningful anyway. We're still 50% higher than we were. But the data overall remains strong, and the stocks seem reasonably priced. Other than that, it's kind of the end of the consumer reporting season, at least the retail reporting season. So we're into the dregs. We got Restoration Hardware, always good for a laugh and a kind of hallucinogenic conference call coming later this week. I think expectations are really low though, and I think the risk for most of these stocks is to the upside. I frankly haven't heard a call as bad as Lululemon's in a long time. Super lost company. The stock is not any great shakes. Wow. But I mean, that was the kind of, it just is isn't that dark, just terrible looking. But
we talked about it last week. Things are so bad. Well, they just got worse, and it was almost impossible to envision that.
Yeah. The E keeps going down, and so that is the definition of a value trap. It's boy, the PE so low. Not when you just keep taking the E lower. That's the way math works. It's arithmetic. It's not really a higher math level. So if you keep taking earnings down, but as we talked about last week, and as we've mentioned multiple times, hiring a CEO who people weren't that crazy about in the first place, and she can't start until September, not expressing the sense of urgency that investors would like to see. And so that's going to take a while to turn. Now, do I think it does turn? Yeah, probably. But like a lot of troubled companies, and these guys are suddenly a troubled company, which is weird coming from the place of strength. They acknowledge themselves. The athleisure market is actually pretty good. One thing the call stood out for was candor. They're screwed and they know it, which is better than denial, I guess. But you're still screwed. And that's where they are. But for the most part, you're seeing really solid execution. The good players are winning, and the consumer keeps showing up. So, we don't really need to weep for the economy just yet. Weep a little bit for these stocks that are generally underperforming, but it's the classic stock pickers market. And I think we'll see after, if according to Hoyle, what you see in this group over the course of the summer is kind of a slowdown, people getting ready and arguing over back to school. And then of course the holidays start. Christmas, naturally, in my opinion, starts right around Labor Day. And so, we'll figure looking for kind of an August bottom in these names. But for the most part, it's steady as she goes. We're just not getting the implosion that people expected.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the chart and then you pull up like today, it's up 2 or 3%. And I know a lot of investors sometimes get fooled when they look at this and they go, it's a bottom, right? It's clearly a bottom because it's at a 52-week low or near it, and then all of a sudden it turns. Hi, I'm David Maris. If you like what you just heard, we've tracked every single pick we make on the show, every ticker, every thesis, every entry price, over 1,100 picks and counting. We put it together in a free report with our top 10 performers, the reasoning behind each one, and a preview of our full dashboard. If you want access, the link is in the description.